Hello everyone, this is a guide for scheduling events in the game Top Heroes. This is specifically meant for R4s and R5s, however feel free to watch along if you need any hints and tips. From inside your castle menu, you can view events in the top right corner using the Events button. This will take you to an events calendar. Through this calendar, you can see the time in UTC-GMT and the dates and schedule for upcoming events. As an R4-5, you will need to schedule 3 main events: the Dark Emperor Invasion, the Guild Boss, and the Ancient Battlefield. The Dark Emperor Invasion and the Guild Boss have very similar interfaces, with both difficulty and time being selectable options. The Ancient Battlefield, however, has a set difficulty based on your previous results and has 3 different options for time. This is important to consider when you're making your schedules. In specific, let's look at the Guild Boss interface. You can access this window by clicking the Select Difficulty button down the bottom or the Settings button on the middle right side. Initially, when you are setting up the event, you can select the difficulty. You can't change this later, so be careful. I would recommend choosing the highest difficulty you can, especially if you have a strong and active guild. However, if your guild is less active or is struggling to beat the difficulty, you may wish to drop it down a level so that everyone can have fun. The second part of the interface is the time. Through this section, you can choose the date and the time you would like it to be at. This is changeable at a later date. All the times you select are in UTC-GMT, and the available time slot is also displayed within this time zone. The local time is shown below, so you can use this as a reference between your time and UTC. There are a couple of ways you can choose a time slot for the Guild Boss. The first of which is having it at a set time each week or alternating based around different time zones. The second is to create a poll based around the number of choices you would like. To create a poll, go back to the homepage and click on the chat button in the bottom left corner. Once you are in the chat window, click on the plus in the bottom right corner. This will open up a little window where you can select the option for a poll. Once this opens, there are a variety of things you can do. The first thing I would recommend is switching it from a standard poll to a time-based poll, which you can do by clicking the button that says Switch in the top left corner. This will allow you to select a variety of times instead of having to physically type the options. It also has a convenient feature where each of the times shows up in everyone's local time. The next thing to do is to choose the group where you want it to poll. To do this, click on the null and a drop-down list will appear. Then click Guild. I would recommend just using the name of the event. Then you can select a variety of options. On a time-based poll, this lets you choose a date and time in UTC. For Guild Boss or Dark Empire Invasion, I would recommend having 3 or 4 time zones that you have pre-decided that you would like it to be in. The other nice thing to do is to click on Allow Multiple Selection down the bottom. This allows for you to have a sense of when people are available, not just their preferred time. This can be used for Guild Boss and Dark Empire Invasion. In contrast, Ancient Battlefield gives you a predetermined rank based on your victories and losses. Additionally, it provides you with 3 time choices, so you do not have flexibility when it comes to time zones. The event also only allows 30 participants, 20 main players, and 10 substitutes. Therefore, to avoid confusion in the guild, I would recommend creating a separate group chat, which you can then select as a polling option. In addition, there is an option to do the poll non-anonymously, which means you can select where your strongest players are and which time zone they want. However, this might seem a bit unfair to the other members of your guild, so make sure you give clarification of what you are doing. Also, don't forget for this event you have to register people. Thanks for listening, and let me know if you want other tips and tricks.